Hello, I'm Scott Bogey here with Menilek Techane ahead of his fight against Mick Jewell. How are you doing today?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks for having me, Scott.
No worries. And how has the training camp been for this fight? Obviously, you were meant to fight earlier on in November. However, that fight got postponed and you've now been able to get into this fight.
Yes, training camp is going well. I've known about the opponent change and I've had ample time to prepare. It is a quite a change of a style, I'd say. Joe wasn't as tall as Mick, but Mick always goes to war in his fight. So I think this one will be as entertaining, if not more entertaining than a fight with Joe would.
And how does opponent changes affect you? Because obviously you have had quite a few recently. You've had Sean Hutton, you had Roscoe Poolworth done twice, you've now had Joe. How does that affect you as a fighter?
It's just part of the journey. I guess many fighters have gone through this. It's like musical chairs, you get used to the music and the dance and you just start to roll with the punches.
And then obviously this fight it is, I think it's your is it your fifth, sixth fight?
Seventh now, yeah.
Seventh. How how much more do you feel like you need before feel like you're ready to turn pro? Or have you left that decision up to your coaches?
I haven't got a specific number, but yeah, like I would like to have got a title at least. I know I've fought for titles twice, so I'm no stranger to, going the distance, 5 rounds,
Yeah.
3 rounds, whatever it is. I feel like I'm very close, so I need to show a bit more of my full skill set. I used to be known more as a striker, but in my last fight, I dealt out a little bit of ground and pound, so we saw some wrestling, let's say. But yeah, still a little work to do before we make the transition.
And for you personally, is there any difference between a normal fight and a title fight? Or is it because it is still just another person at the other end of the cage, you still just treat it as a normal fight?
Well, outside of the obvious, 3 rounds and 5 rounds,
Yeah,
you need a bit more gas in the tank if you want to push and finish late. But there is that extra kind of gravity around the whole situation.
yeah.
Like they're probably putting in as much as you, if not more. At least I tell myself, because you don't want to cut corners for title fights, let alone a normal fight. But yeah, there's not a major difference outside of these small points.
And how big is sponsorship for you guys when you're trying to get the fight? Because obviously with your training camps, they aren't cheap. You've got your medical expenses as well on top of that. How big are sponsorships in that play in this game?
Yeah, it would help a lot just in terms of like getting your name out there,
Yeah.
promotion to a wider audience. And I know, for instance, when you're professional, the medical costs are even higher. So I would need more sponsors at that point because medical scans, etc., are
Yeah.
not cheap.
And how big does like the promotions play in getting you to like push out your tickets?
Yeah, like the bigger the promotion, oftentimes the bigger the media presence. I know SCC were really on it when I'd fought on their shows in terms of getting me to online face-offs with my
Yeah.
opponents. It's a whole kind of different experience. So it really gets you kind of seasoned to what you would experience as a pro. Especially, for instance, like I know yourself, you've been working with Golden and now UKFC. So like with the bigger shows, there's more organization, more interviews, different challenges. Yeah.
And then also with the face-offs, do you try to play any mind games with your opponents, or do you just get in there, do it, and that's you done?
I don't want to be boring, so I don't want to just get in there and do it. We'll see what the opponent brings because everyone brings their own kind of
Yeah,
energy. And also, oftentimes when you're facing off, you've just like cut weight and probably not even rehydrated yet. So you're not feeling your best, but you're trying to do your best too. So yeah, it's a little battle.
and do you have any after-fight treats that you like to do after a fight? Any meals you like to do? Because also you can now start to bulk up.
Sometimes, but oftentimes in recent times, my fight calendar is back to back. So there's not too much of a binge period of slacking off and eating this and that. So oftentimes like be in the gym soon after.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like to eat. I haven't planned out what I want to eat just after this one. But first things first, let's get this win.
Exactly. And then after this fight, you also have the Christmas period. Are you looking for a fight in December, or are you just going to have that month and then New Year, see what happens after that?
Well, yeah, I've been trying to get a fight. Like, I'm not gonna say any names or shows, but
Yeah.
there are a couple of shows putting on fights in December, so it would be nice to, like really make up for lost time. I've only fought once this year. I was meant to fight a few weeks back, and that fell through on the day just before I made the walk to the cage. So it'd be wicked to get this one in November, and if we can get December too, chef's kiss.
And when you go into like a year, like when you're going into 2024, did you try to plan it out? Like you're wanting 4 fights this year, you're wanting 3 fights. Did you try to have that plan going into this year?
I started off the year with laser eye surgery, so this actually made a big difference. There was a bit of a waiting time before I could get active again. My coach did advise me to just put on goggles and train around it, but the risk of blindness was too much. But yeah, like this would be my second fight this year. It's a bit of a well annoying just because I could have already had two, and this could have been my
Yeah,
third. And then if I get December, that could have been the four.
fourth, yeah.
Yeah, just trying to really rack up as much as possible within the constraints.
And like you said, you just had laser eye surgery. How has that improved your vision?
Tremendously. Like I used to be really short-sighted. I could hear, my corner's instructions, and I could tell the difference between my opponent and the ref, so I knew who to fight. But there was oftentimes just the concern because I would actually compete with contact lenses. So, just getting a contact lens punched out was not the one. It didn't actually happen in any of my fights, but it would happen in training. So I'd have one lens and like like the other eye would just be
Yeah.
poor vision. So it'd be pretty blurry to fight. It felt worse than no contact lenses. But yeah, it's a lot better now. No concerns, no worries about stuff coming out of my eyes, etc.
So do you feel like this is now in a new era? Before this, you had those worries about the contact lens going through your mind. You had worry about trying to make sure to see. Now you don't have those worries behind you. You can now go through and just show the true self.
Exactly. I feel like I showed it in my last performance, however brief it was. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're in the eagle eye era, so yeah, enjoy it whilst you can.
And I would discuss about that last fight against Toby and ask how you feel the fight went. However, it was only 1.5 minutes, a head kick knockout. That must have felt good.
Definitely. Like my leg was actually hurting after the kick, to my surprise. I'm glad he's all right. It was a good test of my skills, especially after such a period off. I don't think he actually landed too much, so it didn't really test my eyes, but I've done loads of sparring prior, so no concerns there. But I know Mick isn't an easy guy to put away, so it might go longer than a minute and a half. But yeah, I see the fight ending with my arm raised.
Exactly. I think Mick's got 3 more fights than Toby. Do you feel like having that more experience will just prove that he is a lot more of a tougher test?
Yes, we've shared a common opponent, for instance, Jamie Davies, and yeah, like Jamie's a tough guy, so I know Mick is quite well seasoned just to having gone
Yeah.
with such an opposition, so I can't really take him lightly. Like I am going to the gym after this interview, and like yeah, just leaving no stone unturned.
And what is your normal training routine for a normal week? Do you like to go in there 6 days a week, 5 days a week, or what's your normal schedule?
Yeah, so 6 days a week with one rest day. Yeah, sometimes there might not be a rest day if we can just keep it active and light. But yeah, just tailoring this camp to what Mick brings to the table and just sharpening up what I have and have seen from the last fights, etc.
And how do you balance the training with obviously working commitments and that?
Yeah, it can be pretty tiring, but sleep is important. So just not cutting corners. I know, for instance, like social media can be addicting. You can stay up late nights or just watching films. We all have similar vices, but like I can relax after the win. So like yeah, push, 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 and then relax.
And do you like to bring anyone on board, like any nutritionist or that, for the weight cut? Or are you, I know you know your body, you know what you need, so you can do it by yourself, nice and easy.
Yeah, only in the last fight have I made the move up to middleweight. I used to compete at welterweight, and it
Yeah.
would be quite a big cut because I was just the same weight, just cutting further down. Now the cut isn't so big; it's less of a challenge. So, as you said, not so much of a concern at this point right now.
And when do you normally like to start doing the actual cut?
So previously I was cutting to welterweight, so I would start
Yeah.
that. Let's say if I was weighing in on Friday, I'd start that the Sunday prior, and then just like water load and cuts. Now I'm just more mindful during fight week. I'll still like watch my food. I'm not doing anything crazy. Like I'm not eating chips with salt. I'm not eating pizza. No beer. No, like nothing crazy. Just being also mindful. It used to be like I would be a Spartan when I was cutting to welterweight. It was not fun. Like I'd have like eggs, like no seasoning, no like bread, no carbs, like no cheese on the omelet. Like that was a sad time. So yeah.
And what kind of brought you into the sport?
Yeah, I've always been involved in martial arts, like since a young teenager.
Yeah.
And just like I like the challenge of pushing myself. Like I would do them all separately, and it just became natural just to combine them and like try testing my mettle in this arena. But I remember seeing like UFC, and at the time like Ronda Rousey was massive, and at the time I was doing Japanese jiu-jitsu, so there was a little kind of relationship between the two styles. So it kind of encouraged me to pursue like seeing what MMA is all about.
And then obviously there's been a lot of allegations this week to John Jones about him ducking Tom Aspinall. He didn't take the interview with BT Sport because his words, it was just going to be about Aspinall. And he's going along saying he's not ducking Aspinall. However, he'll take a fight with Piera or he'll retire. Do you feel like he is ducking Aspinall, or what's your take on the situation?
Like, yeah, Aspinall's young and hungry. I don't think he could wait for Aspinall to get old and become an easy opponent. I feel like the Pereira fight would be very similar to the Gane fight.
Yeah,
There is like, Pereira's a big marketable name. I would like him to fight Aspinall. I don't think he's scared of him, but I do feel like there's something funny going on. For instance, the gloves have been changed in his favor.
yeah.
He's not giving the interview with TNT Sports just because they like Aspinall. It's all this funny stuff's going on.
And do you feel like the gloves kind of got changed? There is rumors that it is due to John Jones. He said he tried out the new gloves, he didn't like them, and they're now seemingly going back to the old ones.
Yeah, you see all this chatter about, it's just going to be eye poke for eye poke. Jones and Steve A can do it too, but there's a crazy bias. It really makes you think like, what does John have over Dana? What kind of favoritism is this? I've never seen it before, but it does add to the intrigue and entertainment.
Obviously, Tom Aspinall will not be involved. However, you do have the UFC coming to London in March. How big do you feel like that's going to be for the country?
It depends what time the show starts.
It's primetime UK, it's been announced.
Okay, okay. Yeah, there's been a lot of names like considered for the show, like Moicano called out Pimblett.
Yeah, I
Uh
think that's going to be targeted for the main event.
Awesome. There was also talk about MVP versus Leon Edwards. That's a tasty fight as well.
I think MVP's matched up against the Russian Magomedov in Saudi Arabia for February. I think that's
Okay.
been got confirmed today, I think it was.
Okay. Wow. 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 But yeah, it would be a massive show, especially in London. I think the last was in Manchester.
Yeah.
So I will keep an eye on ticket prices. I know they move fast and expensive, but yeah, I'll be intrigued nonetheless.
I mean, if you start saving now, you might be able to get to the bleachers. Um,
Fingers crossed.
and there was a bit of a worry in the UK with obviously last time in Manchester, Dana was quite critical of the event, saying the fans weren't as energetic, but that would have been because of the time. Do you feel like now it's going to be prime time? The energy is going to be back in the arena. Everyone's going to have a great time, and we're going to be able to show Dana what the UK MMA scene really actually is.
Exactly, yes. Last time, it didn't go the UK's way in
Yeah,
Leon losing the belt, especially at like I think it was half four or something. I think
yeah.
people started to leave halfway through the fight because it just didn't look like it's going their way. And honestly, I don't blame them. Like we used to do watch parties at Renegade for Leon's title defenses, and we'd be all there watching like when he won against Usman. Again, that was at like 4:30 a.m. So we were all like half asleep until the head kick woke us up and put Usman to sleep. But yeah, this one would be a chance for everybody to just be raucous, have fun.
And do you feel like like we're saying favoritism with USC, Dana, and John Jones. But then there is other favoritisms out there, like Sean O'Malley. He had one title defense, and he gets that title rematch against Murab. I think is targeted. You then have Leon Edwards. He wins that title. He then defends it against Usman, defends it against Kobe, loses the belt. He doesn't even get considered for the even the interim title against Rakhmonov. Do you feel like there is that favoritism in the sport with Dana?
Yeah, yeah. I think some of it is due to like, character,
Yeah.
notoriety, just in terms of how many eyes you can draw. For instance, if Conor said he was coming back to fight Hooker and he actually showed up like whatever he wanted, if he wanted some new gloves, I'm sure he'd get them yeah, Dana's flexible like that for the right people.
Well, I know you're going to go out there against Mick, get the victory, and we'll be able to speak ahead of the next big fight as well in December, hopefully. Is there anything you're wanting to add or anyone you're wanting to shout out?
Well, yeah, shout out my coach, Yannick Bahati. Train like a pro, follow him to see the best training content around. Yeah, I'll be repping pressure performance on the nights. And yeah, looking to finish the year strong and go head to head with Mick. I know he doesn't back down, neither will I. This was going to be fun. Tune in November 30th, UKFC 35.
And I know it's going to be a great fight, and I know you'll get the victory. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Scott.